Okay, just to start out, I'm going to explain a few things, and I'm going to also zoom in on the mini-map. Okay, so this is you, and this is the travel distance, or maximum travel distance of your bullet. This one is basically the maximum view range where you can start spotting other tanks and also become spotted. Now, this one is way more important because this one will expand outwards every time you fire your weapon or move the body of your tank. Not your turret, just the body. Okay, so right there he just fired, and the enemy is at the point where they are basically close enough to where they should be able to spot him, but that didn't happen. And the reason is very simple, it's because of the foliage directly in front of him. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this as best as I can. Um, when a tank moves, it clearly gives away its position because you can see it moving. Now, if a tank fires, it gives it away even more because there's the noise, the flash, just everything. Now, also, imagine this scenario. Imagine you're trying to spot something from a distance behind the bush, okay? If you are behind the bush, they probably won't be able to see you, right? So, in most situations, that is true. And basically, same goes for vice versa. You wouldn't be able to see them. Which is why you should always have, or hopefully have, a light tank out on the outside spotting for you. Now, if you are sitting inside the bush or somewhat inside the bush, chances are, if you were to imagine that in real life, you could probably see through the outside of it and see what's on the other side. So the reason that Belovedsquid is not getting spotted is because he is at least, I think it's 10, 15, maybe even 20 meters, just to be safe, behind the bush to where that counts as his extra camo factor. Now, if he's inside of the bush, it still counts towards his camouflage factor, but chances are firing your weapon will give you away. These are just things that a tank destroyer needs to keep in mind at all times because staying camouflaged and staying hidden is essential. Alright, so go ahead and keep watching, and I'll explain as things happen because it's about to change. Right here, one thing Squid is clearly good at is predicting. Pay attention to the landscape, the tank, the direction it's going, and it becomes very easy to predict where they're going to go and blind shot them. Alright, so this is something that I do all the time, and it should be something that you all should practice. Only use auto lock to do allow your tank to do 90% of the work. You'll notice that he auto locks, lets the reticle find its target, and then he zooms in, and he constantly switches back and forth between first person or sniper mode and third person, which he's in right now. You'll actually see this a lot for players that are really good. They'll constantly be zooming in and out, and when you're in third person, you can see what's around you. You know, you can have a better view of what all is happening around you. And in sniper mode, you can't, so it's good to practice switching between the two. Now, I'm sure you can notice after each movement, he's slowly moving back. Reason being, well, because he knows he's about to get spotted. And honestly, if it wasn't for him paying very close attention to the minimap and just the overall distance between him and the enemy, he probably would have been spotted by now, because a lot of players will do that. They'll think that they're invisible because there's a bush in front of them. But once the enemy gets close enough, that camo factor goes away very quickly. Okay, so now he's just been spotted, and so he has to act accordingly. And what he's about to do is something that I also use, and a lot of people just are not aware of whatsoever in some cases. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just for this. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. This is Sixth Sense, and this symbol, the light bulb, tells you that somebody somewhere has spotted you. And this symbol, the exclamation point, is the symbol that notifies you when you are being directly aimed at. That means that from someone else's perspective, a portion of your tank is within their direct line of sight. Now, luckily, Squidward knows what to do, and you're about to see him utilize that to his advantage. So I'm sure you can tell there was one point where he was kind of bobbing and weaving or going in and out. The reason he was doing that is because, for one thing, you can do that to fake someone out. When the exclamation point appears, that means that they're locked on and they're aiming directly at you and waiting for you. If you sit there and bob in and out, they might actually think you're going to come out enough to where they can shoot, and they'll misfire. But I think what Squidward is doing is actually trying to make them think that he's going to come out, and then he moves around and then waits for Sixth Sense and all his notifications to go away. And basically, what happens is once they do go away, the enemy doesn't know what your next move is. They don't know if he's going to come around that side of the house, or maybe he's going to back up, or run away, or go around to the other side. It's basically a mind game at that point, and you need to be able to figure out what they're thinking and act accordingly. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for this last point. So, right here, look at how many people are around him. 3 of them are within his dotted line white circle, and one of them is soon to be within that circle. If it wasn't for how good Squid is at knowing his camo factors, he would have been dead a long time ago. So I have preached this so many times, and I may have had an advantage. I started out with artillery, so it's normal for me to check the minimap like every 5 seconds. And I mean that, every 5 seconds, to constantly know where the enemy is, how close they are, and where everybody's going. It's all about situational and minimap awareness. And if it hadn't been for Squidward's skill, he probably would have been taken out a long time ago. Now, although maybe it may sound like I'm just, bragging about Squidward, it's just there are so many situations that I've seen where a player just does not display this type of awareness and they get killed for it. So, with that being said, I hope that my explanation, helped clarify a lot of things, because I see a lot of players struggle with understanding why they're getting spotted in certain situations or why they're being shot by invisible things. There are like websites where you can go all the way down to like the mathematical equations, but in reality, all that you need to know is right there in front of you. Some people start saying, "Oh, well, how do I know how close they have to be to spot me?" Well, that's your still concealment factor, and that is listed right there as soon as you pick a tank. And if you ask, "Oh, well, how can I tell if they're getting within or close to that range?" Well, right there where your reticle is, there's a number. That number says how far your reticle is from you. All you have to do is look at that, keep your still concealment in mind, and it just takes practice. So just like last time, sorry if this was pretty boring. I know there's a lot of pauses, but it's just things like this need to be explained. But as long as you listen, practice, and I mean, seriously, this does take practice. That's all you have to do. Just practice it, and it will eventually make sense, even without all the numbers and all the explanations. So, I will see you guys in the next training video.